academic background, your career goals, and how you plan to contribute to Indonesia after graduation. If there's anything specific you'd like to revisit or any new questions you want to tackle today, just let me know.
Great. So you have my data, you have our past conversations. I want to have a mock-up interview with the same format with before. Um, can we do that?
Of course, we can definitely do that. Let's start with a quick introduction. Could you briefly introduce yourself and explain why you want to pursue the LPDP scholarship?
Right. So my name is Muhammad Ahwy Karuniyado. I'm a professional. I've built businesses and I've worked as a professional with various roles as a consultant, strategist, project manager, product manager, and even digital learning manager. So with all of those experiences that I have, I want to level up the entrepreneurship community in Indonesia because there is a big lacking of entrepreneurship in Indonesia. We have below 5% of entrepreneurs in Indonesia, and it's very crucial for a nation to have higher entrepreneurship to make a more contribution to the government, to make more job openings, and to provide liquidity to the market, and finally to raise the overall competitiveness of a country because more entrepreneurs means more innovation, more products and services available to the market. And I want to unlock that community, entrepreneurship community, by going to for my studies for master's degree in US. And I believe LPDP have the greatest match in terms of my vision and the integrity and then the value and belief of LPDP. We have a great match. Thus, I applied for LPDP scholarship.
Thank you for that introduction, Mohammed. That's a strong foundation. Now, let's dive into a key question. How do you plan to use the knowledge and network gained from NUS to foster entrepreneurship in Indonesia? And what specific initiatives do you envision implementing once you've completed your studies?
So I proposed to study in NUS, Master of Strategic Analysis, because I want to understand and acquire the level of understanding on how to make a decision and then repackage that learning and that level of network and bring it back to Indonesia. So the steps would be as practical as possible. I want to create learning content for people to consume, which is either affordable or outright free by distributing it to my personal Instagram account, TikTok, and so on and so forth. And then secondly, craft a community by using my current distribution network. I already have a remote working community called YF Chuan, and I already have a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers. So when I want to launch this community, it will have immediate traction, immediate reports, and immediate people going to sign up for this. And then finally, I want to gather all of those SMEs and potential entrepreneurs to either study, learn, acquire a network, and broaden their mindset. The steps that I'm going to do is by repackaging my learning, distribute my learning to the network they already have, and then build various offline and online communities and activities such as webinars, seminars, networking sessions, and even exchange of ideas because I understand that people are already working in entrepreneurship and people wants to be an entrepreneur. There needs to have a strong bridge to meet. Thus, that is my role. Those are the things that I want to provide and build Indonesia post study.
That's a comprehensive plan, Mohammed. Highlighting your existing platforms and community will show the interviewers how you can immediately make an impact. Let's move on to another question. How do you plan to overcome challenges related to building and maintaining this entrepreneurial community, especially given the diverse economic and social backgrounds in Indonesia?
So the first challenge that I want to tackle is this distribution. So I'm going to use my own personal net distribution channel. I already have an Instagram account with 25,000 followers, a TikTok account with 30,000 followers. I have a community, remote working community, which already have 800 people within it across Indonesia, across Jabodetabek, Jakarta, Bandung, and so on and so forth. So the first challenge is distribution, and I want to tackle it by distributing to the network that I already have. And secondly, using content that is so easily to understandable for people by making content on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, and so on and so forth, using the word Bahasa Indonesia, the easiest language possible, and then people can consume it. And then when people can consume it, they will either follow up by joining a community, and then we're gonna have a meetup. So, tackling the various levels of social economic background and the geographical differences in Indonesia, I will tackle it by using the distribution network that I already have and then by making content that is very easily digestible. The form would be in short form video, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, with lots of dialogues and or monologues written in Bahasa and very straightforward. And we're going to use simple editing so everyone can learn from it. It will be straightforward. The easiest way to grasp it is like a form of glossary, but in form of a video. So glossary videos, but that is very easy to be understood. Those are the plans that I want to use to tackle the challenges.
Great approach. Emphasizing your existing network and your plan to create easily digestible content in Bahasa Indonesia will definitely resonate with the interviewers. Now, let's focus on your long-term vision. How do you see the entrepreneurship landscape in Indonesia evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And what role do you envision yourself playing in that transformation?
So the biggest transformation would be caused by AI. There will be one man entrepreneurs or maybe really small team that provide a huge impact to the community and can provide services and products that are comparables to even big companies. And my role is to unlock that to happen. I understand that most people who wants to do business are either afraid or have a irrational perceived risk because they do not understand what is business. And even if they do understand, most of the knowledge are really based on just selling. But doing a business is not just simply selling and buying products or providing services. There are documentations, taxation, financial statements, and every SOPs, standard of operations, and documentation that must be done. So my goal and my role would be unlocking those things by providing knowledge, repackage learning, network, and then finally position to be the one to be the one-stop shop for people to learn about business. So at the end, my role is to let people learn about business from the experts, from the people who already do business, and then grow their own business in a community full of entrepreneurs or full of people who are going to support their ideas. That is my role.
That's a powerful vision. By positioning yourself as a one-stop resource for aspiring entrepreneurs, you'll play a crucial role in shaping the future of Indonesia's entrepreneurial landscape. Let's wrap up this mock interview with a final question. What do you think sets you apart from other candidates applying for the LPDP scholarship? And how do you plan to give back to the community during and after your studies?
So the biggest difference between me and most LPDP applicants is that I already have first-hand experience and I already did to a certain degree that level of contribution. I've worked in banking sector, startups, SMEs, and even state-owned enterprises. I've built communities for remote workers, for people who wants to learn, for people who wants to acquire knowledge. So that various role and those variety of experiences are the biggest edge that I have because I've understand firsthand. I already got the network in Indonesia and a thorough degree of distribution. So when I have this idea, I can immediately distribute it to Indonesia as fast as possible. Thus, the biggest difference is that I already have the practical knowledge. Now I need a, a detailed and academical knowledge and solid framework, and then the international network that I'm going to acquire, and then I can just connect those things and then make changes at the very least to my first circle network and then slowly to second level network.
That's a compelling differentiator. Your combination of practical experience, established networks, and the drive to integrate academic insights sets you apart. This concludes our mock interview. You've done a fantastic job articulating your vision, your unique strengths, and your plans to give back to the community. If you'd like any more practice or feedback, just let me know.
So let's continue the interview session. I want you to give 10 more questions, all right? And I want it to be out of the box and very hard, very challenging. And if possible, out of 10 questions, three would be from a perspective of psychologists, three would be from academicians, and four will be people who are practitioner. Can we do that?
Absolutely. Let's dive into these challenging questions. 1. From a psychologist's perspective, how do you plan to address the psychological barriers such as fear of failure or imposter syndrome that many aspiring entrepreneurs face, and what strategies would you use to help them overcome these issues? From a psychologist's perspective,
No, 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 no.
how do
You ask me one question, then I will answer it. Then you either do a follow up or move on to other question. You do not give me a bunch of list of questions and I'll answer and expect me to answer it from 1 to 10. Okay? Do you understand that?
Got it? We'll go one question at a time. Here's the first one from a psychologist's perspective. How do you plan to address the psychological barriers such as fear of failure or imposter syndrome that many aspiring entrepreneurs face, and what strategies would you use to help them overcome these issues? From a psychologist's perspective, how do you plan to address the psychological barriers such as fear of failure or imposter syndrome that many aspiring entrepreneurs face, and what strategies would you use to help them overcome these issues? From a psychologist's
Right.
perspective,
I'm going to answer it. Okay. Um, Fear really comes to not understanding the landscape and context thoroughly. So, as a human being, if we are not informed in our decision, we will fill our decision making process with misunderstanding, assumptions, hypotheses, and predictions. Those are arguably sound when you were going to make a decision, but fundamentally not sound due to the fact that your decision making process and the information that you gathered are not based on reality. Therefore, my strategy to handle fear and to handle imposter syndrome is by making people within the community learn the details of business. Not too much of a detail that make them not willing to take the risk, but just know enough to slowly move the needle. So either they want to launch a product, we will provide them with knowledge of how to make a product and how to craft a product and how to launch the product. Or maybe they want to increase the revenue, their marketing sales. So we're going to provide marketing strategies, marketing where they can market on Meta ads or maybe TikTok ads or maybe Google ads, and then teach them about SEO. Slowly but surely, they will understand the complexities of business. Thus, more understanding about business, more understanding about the landscape will reduce their level of fear and will increase their level of confidence in making decision. And then finally, after they understood a certain degree about business, about the complexities of business and everything in between, they will make an even better decision which will lead to an even better business process and even better business outcome. Because at the end of the day, a business can only be made and can only be successful is really predetermined by the level of decision making and the quality of decision when the decision is made.
That's a thoughtful approach. By providing foundational knowledge and practical guidance, you're empowering aspiring entrepreneurs to make informed decisions and gradually build confidence. Let's move on to the next question from an academician's perspective. How do you plan to integrate academic theories and frameworks into your practical initiatives, ensuring that your community benefits from both theoretical and practical insights?
So, first, by me myself learning about the theoretical and solid framework based on academic learning, then slowly connect the dots from the academic learning to practical knowledge that I already acquired from 5 years of experience of working. Slowly but surely connecting all the dots and then translate it into digestible answers to the Indonesian people and then to the community. In what format? The format will be in a short form video, a short article, maybe even a short thread on Twitter or LinkedIn, or even threads made by Instagram. And then slowly have a connection with them to ensure that people can practically use the knowledge. We will connect them with a discussion groups and with webinars and then with a community of people on WhatsApp group and then they can have a discussion. And then finally, to make it even practical, we will provide tutorials on how to communicate with AI such as ChatGPT to really understand the problem and to have a conversation with it. I believe that at the end of the day, when you want to solve a problem, it really starts to the level of understanding towards the problem. The more you understand the problem, the more you can solve the problem. Thus, the first step is to have a connection with them, have a talk with them, discussion with them, and then slowly but surely connect the dots between the learning that I've acquired and to the practical challenge that they have and what I already had.
Excellent strategy. By blending theoretical insights with practical experience and fostering interactive discussions, you'll create a well-rounded learning environment for your community. Now, let's shift to a question from a practitioner's perspective. How do you plan to address the practical challenges that entrepreneurs face daily, such as managing cash flow, dealing with competition, and scaling their businesses effectively?
So to do that is by prioritization. I understand that at the end of the day, every business wants to scale, that every business wants to grow, but doing an organization, either in form of business or even a state government, it really comes back to managing limitations. We have a limited amount of energy, a limited amount of time, and a limited amount of money to do so. Thus, the only way to acquire good process would be comes back to prioritization. So we will try to understand where the business stage at now. So if maybe the business is just starting out, it would be irrational to focus on various aspects. It would be rational and more sound to focus on one or two, three things, such as product development, marketing, and getting that sales calls for people to buy the product and receive feedback to further improve the product and or the service. Thus, it really comes back to prioritization rather than balancing out the A, B, or C's. At the end of the day, a business must be prioritized, either focus on marketing, fully on marketing like Coca-Cola or PepsiCo, they focus on marketing, or product development like Microsoft or Facebook, and so on and so forth. So my approach will not be balancing A or B or C, but rather prioritizing what we must do at the level or at the stage we are at.
That's a solid approach. Prioritizing based on the business's stage and focusing on key areas ensures efficient use of limited resources. Let's move on to the next challenging question from a practitioner's perspective. How do you plan to handle the challenges of scaling a business, especially in a diverse market like Indonesia, where customer preferences and market dynamics can vary